Yeah, it is.
This train review is the one you've all been waiting for, the QR SMU 200, which is the last train in my Queensland Rail Urban Rolling Stock series. So, let's recap what I've caught so far. On this series we've already looked at the EMU, ICE, IMU 100, SMU 220, SMU 260, NGR, IMU 160 and the IMU 120. So let's cap off today's list with the SMU 200. If you haven't already checked out any of my previous train reviews, it's worth catching up on the rest of the fleet, so I've left a convenient QR rolling stock playlist at the end to make it easier. Let's start looking at the SMU 200 in greater detail. The SMU 200 first entered service on the 16th of August 1994, and these were the first new trains at Queensland Rail since the ICEs were delivered in 1989. But for suburban running, these directly followed the EMU series trains, which by the time that the SMU 200s entered service, some of them were up to 15 years old. There are just 12 SMU 200 series trains labelled 201 to 212. This can make them a bit difficult to find, but they are scattered across the network, so you may just catch one as long as you stick to the suburban lines. They have an interesting blend of components from the EMU and the newer SMU 200. And if you want to see one in its early form, SMU 204 makes an appearance in Powderfinger's My Happiness film clip. But here's a shot of SMU 207 back in 2008, so you can see the older carpeting and blue handrail arrangement. This is how I actually remember a lot of these trains looking, especially when I used to catch the train from school up to rugby training. So let's pop back to the SMU 200 in today's form. Those blue handrails have since been painted yellow, the carpet has had a little bit of a refresh.
At Roma Street, customers are advised the central station lifts on platforms 1, 2 and 3, 4 are closed for a major upgrade. Customers who cannot use escalators or stairs should disembark now and seek assistance from station staff or call 13 16 17.
The seat backs are painted in a darker grey, and unfortunately the graffiti on the windows has built up a bit more. This means they do look a bit like a 25-year-old train, but they are still solid and reliable, and much like the SMU 220s, the interior layout is nice and practical, with sideways bench seats, flip-up wheelchair spaces and standing areas. So enough talking from me for a little bit, let's listen to how those trains sound.
Roma Street Station, mind the gap. The next station is Roma Street. Customers are advised the central station lifts on platforms 1, 2 and 3, 4 are closed for a major upgrade. Customers who cannot use escalators or stairs should disembark at Roma Street and seek assistance from station staff or call 13 16 17.
I'm not ashamed to admit that the SMU 220 is one of my favourite trains, and because of that, by virtue, I also like the SMU 200s. The 200s, however, lack a certain design freshness that the 220s have, which makes them still feel significantly older. I think much of that actually comes down to the carpeting.
This is a Shorncliffe train, stopping all stations. The next station is Central.
As the SMU 220s were retrofitted with a vinyl floor, which feels fresher and will probably last longer. If not, the vinyl floor on the 220s will collect less gum. The 200 is still an incredibly good train, and one which I do enjoy catching. But as this was only a short ride, I'll be jumping off this train at Fortitude Valley and will let it continue on its merry way out to Shorncliffe. So now that I've reviewed every QR urban train, you're probably asking me to pick a favourite, and I will, in a future video. So I'm planning to do a ranking list with plenty of practical considerations, not just an opportunity to keep sledging the NGR and put it in last place. Spoiler alert, the NGR will not be in last place. But keep your eyes out for that one, because it will be a good video and I'm drafting the full criteria for it at the moment. This might also leave you wondering, what's next for trains on this channel? I've had a few requests to do travel with QR long distance trains, but sadly, that's going to be off the cards for the time being. As if you watched my previous video, you'll notice that I'm no longer living in Queensland, so I've moved interstate for a full-time role, so that's relegating video editing and YouTubing to the hobby basket. Fortunately, Newcastle does have a little local train network that is worth checking out, so bear with me and I'm pretty keen to explore more of this wonderful little city. I should just add to that, if you've never moved out of home before, you just don't realise how many simple things you take for granted, and it really can take a little while to get established. But anyway, I'll cover more of that another time. Alrighty, so that was a review of the Queensland Rail SMU 200 series, and if I publish this all in the right order, this will mean that I've completed every single Queensland Rail suburban train. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again soon.